Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast here on the Boss Rush Network. I am one of your hosts, Corey Deerick, and alongside me, as always, is the joy of Wisconsin, Stoy Jovic.
How's it going?
I can't.
I'm the joy of the entire state.
Look, I can't figure it out. I can't figure out a nickname for you yet.
Oh, that's fine. I'm totally fine with that.
No,
So
we need one.
you guys probably don't have a Quick Trip by you, right?
No.
Okay, that's a very, very Wisconsin thing.
It
Very
sounds like
Wisconsin thing. It's like a gas station / convenience store thing.
Oh, dude, we got a Quick Trip on like every corner down here.
Really? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Yeah, there's same by us. Someone just made the news in Wisconsin that apparently they visited all Quick Trips in Wisconsin. Now, apparently there's over 420 Quick Trips in Wisconsin. It's amazing. I didn't even know there was that many.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a great number.
So that's that's the joy of Wisconsin right there, is visiting every Quick Trip in the state.
That other voice you hear is the one, the only, the mayor of the Deep Stone Crypt, the vault dwelling, the Spartan slaying, the best Destiny co-host on the Citadel. It's Josh Finney.
God, I love you.
It's that.
Oh,
It's that Tower
Wish
Casuals
I had
humor.
an intro like that.
My long-awaited return.
I know. Hi, Josh.
Hi, Corey.
This is going to be a fun episode.
This is.
Yeah.
It's a homecoming. I feel like I need like Stone Cold Steve Austin intro music.
We're not going that far. I gave you your nicknames. You're lucky I didn't call you the Demon Sour.
Listen, I get that when I walk into people's houses, okay? I expect more coming back to my old stomping grounds.
Man, how's it going, Josh?
It's going. It's going.
I don't. It's going. I don't know.
Is it?
I don't know how I feel about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's just going.
It is what it is. Got my booster shot on Friday, so I'm feeling pretty under the weather this weekend.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
Little sluggish, migraines, all that. This evening's kind of the first time I've felt human all weekend.
That's good.
So
That's good. It's good. Yeah. It's a threesome this week. Yeah.
3 dudes just hanging out, talking about video games.
Yeah.
that was a choice.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It was a choice. I made it. Deal with it.
Yeah. I mean,
I respect it.
what more do you want? Just,
Yeah.
3 dudes just hanging out.
Yeah.
Hey, you like video games? I like video games. Let's talk about video games in front of
No, they're the
microphones.
worst.
You like those
they're
video
the best.
games?
Come on.
It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of news this week. There's a lot. Only a couple big stories though, but there's enough here to dissect and
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw that about Phil Spencer got himself into hot water about his comments that he made on a podcast
Oh,
saying
Wow.
that Xbox Live is not a free speech platform, and everyone's like, well, I don't like that.
And it's owned by a private corporation, private server.
Oh,
It's definitely
exactly.
not a free speech platform.
No, it's not, and you're gonna. Yeah, and that's why I kind of like agreed with him. I was like, yeah, it's their platform, and they can do and say whatever, impose whatever rules they want. So they're not going to let you They're not going to let you on there talking about Nazis or whatever else is banned by the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that's only allowed on Facebook.
yeah,
only in the metaverse.
yeah, or whatever else, whatever other social media platform is going to be popping up here in the next year or so.
The metagrams.
I'm gonna take my views to Zynga.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for that mobile Grand Theft Auto. What if Grand Theft Auto was
Let me
just
get my live journal account back up and running.
What if Grand Theft Auto 6 was a mobile game, a free to play mobile game?
That would be
I
amazing.
respect it. It's a distinct possibility now.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, Rockstar's got a game-winning formula right there. So
Yeah. But back to the free speech platform. I kind of agree. Like
Game winning. Get it?
Look,
Game winning.
I got it.
You didn't even laugh. Come on.
Ha!
There. Thanks.
Jokes.
Okay, now we can move on.
Jokes. No, but I agree with you guys. It's like, just don't be a dickhead on the internet, guys. It's like seems like a reasonable ask, right? Just don't.
I feel like the only people who are upset about this are the people who are mad that somebody is saying, you probably shouldn't run around yelling racial slurs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't do that.
Okay.
I mean, you shouldn't do that either.
You shouldn't do that in anything.
Period.
Yeah.
I mean, but come on, like we've the three of us have been on Xbox Live for a very long time.
Yes.
And we all remember how the Halo 2 and 3 lobbies used to be, the Call of Duty lobbies. Like, it's a huge reason why I just turn off voice chat in every game now, even like as I approach 30.
No, you don't. What
is
was
because
worst?
I have
It was Gears was the worst.
Gears was bad. I saw somebody saying the other day with the Halo 3 server shutting down, going, this is what Infinite is missing, is the social aspect. How everybody used to get to talk before and after games, and there was cross-team chat, and I'm like, yeah, I really miss people yelling the N-word every 3 words.
If you played Call of Duty recently, at the end of every match, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I really miss the racial, misogynistic, and homophobic slurs from Xbox Live lobbies. Yeah, I really miss that. Let me tell you, that's what Halo Infinite is missing right there.
Mm-hmm.
I miss that so much.
Part of it is kind of funny and pathetic in a way, because there's a lot of people that aren't good competitors, and they don't appreciate it sometimes when it's like you lose and it's like, hey, all right, I'm going to take that one on the chin and get better on the next one. No, these people decide to throw insults and slurs at other people because apparently it's their fault. Whatever. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's not a place that, Xbox Live is not a place for that,
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you know what? Come on. Most of us are adults here. Let's act like it. Mm-hmm. It's a video game. It's not that heated. It's just like when you see the videos of people overreacting after their sports team loses. Like, I brought this one up to Corey's chagrin many a time, but like there's one of the Ravens running a kick all the way back at the end of the game to win the game, and this dude just overreacts, starts ripping his Browns jersey apart, throwing it into the stands, screaming about how much he hates them. And it's like, you know what, man, it's a game. Let's move on with life. It has no impact on your life. Unless you are a member of the team or you are a person with a severe gambling problem, you're okay. You'll be fine. The Earth will still spin tomorrow. The sun will still come up. I promise you. It's a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the end of the world.
Nope.
And like what you do on the internet reflects who you are in real life too.
Yeah.
Don't run around and say, because I've heard that argument before. Like, oh, I just got caught up in the heat of the moment. No, if you're saying it here, there's a good chance you're saying it in traffic on I-35 also. You're saying it at the Quick Trip, or you're saying it at McDonald's. Like, you're saying it somewhere else too. Like, you think you hit anonymity, but you really don't. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what we do on the internet, guys? You know what we do? We do a podcast. This is Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast here on the Boss Rush Network.
What a segue.
You can catch us live on Twitch every Sunday night on podcast services and YouTube on Tuesday mornings. If you listen to the show on iTunes and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out all of our shows and content on bossrush.net. You can get your Arsenal X merch on the Boss Rush store. We have shirts, stickers, mugs, hoodies, and more. Check it out by clicking the store icon on our website. It's going to be fun. It's a good time. We're going to jump into what we've been playing. Stoy, what have you been playing?
Okay. I tried to remember the name of this game, and I think I'm going to have to Google it real quick. It is called Record of Lodos. Record of Lodos War. Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth. I think that's it. So this was on Game Pass, and it just came out, I think, a couple weeks ago. And they, it's just like a Metroid. It's actually more of a Castlevania screw the Metroid part of it. This is a straight Castlevania style game, right down to the music. Like I don't know, Josh, if you ever played Symphony of the Night ever.
Oh, big fan. One of my favorite games ever.
It's got a very distinct musical score, and very like, you're wandering around like a castle, obviously side scrolling, and you're fighting bats, or you're fighting goblins, or you're fighting skeletons, or whatever else, just standard Castlevania style fare. But you got this like blaring ass soundtrack that's like in your ears, that's just pumping and pumping. Like it doesn't fit the area that you're in, but it's so amazingly works well that it's like, I'm in this. So it's kind of like fan service for something.
I'm looking at some screenshots of the game, and this definitely looks it's a Castlevania with a fantasy filter.
Yeah, it pretty much is, because
very much what it looks like.
Yeah, you're playing as, there's a lot of elf lore here because you're playing as an elf. And I think the story sets up where like you're part of this. The story is very basic. Like there really isn't much set up in the beginning. You're part of this group of protectors of Earth or something like that. And then you are a particular one who falls in love with another protector. But then like something happens where the balance is disrupted, and you had to fight for your love of this person. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't explain much. All of a sudden, you're in this world, and you're in these castles, and you're fighting these enemies who are trying to destroy you, but you yourself are kind of confused. Like your character is like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm fighting all you, but she's kind of pushing through. Her name is Deedlit. So that's who you're playing as. But apparently this Record of Lodoss War is actually a franchise of fantasy novels.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that.
Sorry, I walked away for a second. Are you talking about that like Metroidvania on Game Pass that's like,
you get that Metroid out of your mouth, sir. This is a Castlevania game
I've just been playing. I just heard it tangentially, and I've been playing a lot of Metroid Dread.
No, it's fine. I know, like you got that Metroid name being used a lot, but you're not admittedly doing a lot of backtracking in this. It's actually very linear, and even though like the map is kind of set up, like Corey, I was talking about like where it's very reminiscent of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, right down to the music and right down to kind of like the look of it. So, but yeah, it's pretty linear. You do maybe occasional backtracking back and forth, but as you're going through, you're unlocking different weapons. You have a bow and arrow that you could use too as well. You have a blue and a red power as well, which they use it in very interesting ways. So like, say for example, there is a boss fight where like you're actually fighting two beings, like two like kind of like spirits or whatever, and one's like blue, one's red. So like you have to shift between this blue phase and red phase to attack the opposite color. So like if you shift to your red power, which is like fire, you can attack the blue character and vice versa. There's lava levels where like if you have to traverse through the lava, you have to turn into your red power. Sometimes there's like barriers that are blocking your way, and they're either blue or red, so you have to shift to that particular color to shift through that. Otherwise, you're going to get damage. And apparently you collect energy through that process, which you could use to kind of like bump up your health at regular intervals. I haven't really figured out how that works, but like sometimes I'll shift between blue and red, and like I'll just automatically start building up health, which maybe if I paid attention more, I'd understand. But yeah,
you should be paying attention.
So, I know I really should be, but like sometimes they'll like tell you something, and I'm like, I just want to kind of play. I want to get going.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm about a couple hours into this because I played a decent amount of it earlier today, and it's solid and it stands alone as like a really good Castlevania style game. So if you're kind of really interested in, or if you're a big fan of the Castlevania series, that's definitely the game to go to. Especially recently since it's on Game Pass, and it's pretty lengthy. Like don't know how long it is, but I don't think I'm really halfway through. I think I unlocked like about like 30% of the map at this point, and I'm like a couple hours in. So
cool.
But I mean, that's the big one that I've really been playing. I've obviously been still going back to Dragon Age Inquisition. Did I talk about the Pedestrian last week?
You did a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I beat that, and that's an interesting way it ended. And I'm not going to say what happens at the end.
Do you get run over?
But no. But the have you ever heard the purple flower joke?
No.
Anybody? No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
Is that a Wisconsin thing too?
No, that's a dad joke type thing. I'm gonna just want you to Google it. I'm not gonna tell you about it because it's a very long, very stupid joke. But yeah. Anyway, because when you said at the end is you get hit by a truck, that's anyway. So yeah, there's like the ending sequence that happens where it's like, man, I wish most of the game was like that particular ending sequence. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Cool.
So, but that's a really good puzzle game. Really makes you think, really makes you kind of have to think outside the box quite a bit. And a lot of trial and error if you're into that. If you get frustrated very easily, there may be some puzzles that you'll get right away. Some puzzles that'll just, you'll be sitting there for a long time, like trying to rack your brain to figure it out. But, yeah, I jumped back in Rainbow Six Siege as well, too.
Oh, wow. The non-multiplayer guy jumps into one of the most hardcore multiplayer games ever made.
Well, let me tell you, I'm not playing multiplayer. I'm playing Terrorist Hunt Lone Wolf, baby.
Oh, God.
Let me tell you, the amount of anxiety. If you're playing just Terrorist Hunt, like not, hostage rescue, not defuse the bomb, nothing like that. If you just play Terrorist Hunt where you just go in and you just take out however many people in there, the amount of anxiety that courses through your veins when you're playing that mode by yourself, you have a little bit of safety when you're like with people, because there's always like, you're playing with the 4 people and you're storming this house or you're storming this building. And it's like, all right, I got people in my group that are like better than me sometimes. So, they got your back. But when you're going in by yourself, adds a whole other level of extreme difficulty. You really got to be careful how you walk, how you approach things, how you peek around corners. You're going to fail a lot. But I think that's kind of part of the fun of it for me. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm on the edge of my couch, like, really paying attention, really focused, really dialed in. And I don't know. I love in the past Terrorist Hunt, I've played hundreds and hundreds of times, like the old Vegas days and even like the previous ones beforehand, just lone wolf in it or like going in with maybe like a group of people sometimes. But yeah, I'm just kind of getting ready for quarantine whenever it comes out, or what's the new mode?
Extraction.
Extraction.
Don't worry, they've changed the name like 4 times. It's fine.
It was called Quarantine at one point.
Will they change it again with 4 days to go?
Maybe. What if they did? Rainbow Six Invasion, because aren't they aliens, not zombies?
They are in fact aliens.
Can we get that Will Smith Agent J skin in there? That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. But I didn't realize, like, I was playing on PlayStation, so I have, like, I think up to year 3 on PlayStation. But, like, I downloaded it on Game Pass, and they only give you, like, year 1 and 2, I think.
Yeah, whatever's in the deluxe edition's like year 1 and 2, I think, which is what's on Game Pass.
So, like, I was thinking about buying the Ultimate Pack, where it's, like, you get all years. I think it goes up to year 5 or year 6 at this point. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, if I really want to invest that amount of money. It was on sale recently, and I think I just missed it.
I think today's the last day, actually.
No, I looked. It's gone.
Is it? Aww.
Yeah, it's gone.
Aww.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know. I may still pick it up. Like I said, I don't know how deep I want to go in with it.
You never know how deep to go in.
Yep, exactly. You just want to kind of like just go in just a little bit, feel around a bit, kind of see how the waters feel, and then you just kind of, once you kind of get that initial entry point in, then you just go in hard.
Actually, Stoy,
Giggity.
the Rainbow Six Siege Ultimate Edition is on sale for $39.99.
Okay.
60% off. It gives you every operator to date. Whatever that means.
Well, just like every year, they dump like 5 or 6 operators and
Yeah.
like a couple different stages and whatever. I hate where they went with it
I mean,
recently
that's
with
fair.
the arena.
I don't know anything about it. I played I think I played for like 2 weekends with Jesse one time, and I just had no idea what I was doing.
So they basically been pushing this game as like, oh, this is going to be a 10-year game.
Yeah.
And
Well, they're on year 7, so
yeah, they're on your it's been out for a while. So they just recently implemented this kind of like a new game mode where it's like you're in an arena battle, whatever. So I think the story is it's like some rich asshole bought a whole big soccer stadium and then converted it into like a arena where like people are watching you and you're trying to, it's like one team against another team and you're trying to go through this like fabricated house with these fabricated buildings that kind of are randomized, and you're going in with a random team of 4 people, and it's supposed to be a big competition in front of all these people in front of a televised audience. I don't know, whatever. Tom Clancy would be rolling over in his grave if he saw what happened to his his franchises.
They basically turned this into G.I. Joe. And it's like,
yeah, it really did. So
is that
I read the original Rainbow Six book a long time ago, and I mean it has such a good premise, and even like some of the games, I think the original games were very faithful and loyal to the books, because obviously Tom Clancy at the time when it was Red Storm Entertainment, that was his studio, he very much had a strict grip on everything that went on in the games.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing could be implemented in the game unless it went through him. And like we almost didn't even get Splinter Cell at one point.
Yeah.
Because he was so adamant about like the tech that was to be used in the game needed to be real life tech. Like nothing futuristic, none of this whole like, crazy ass tech that they're using in Siege. None of that would be in this game if he was still alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I remember playing Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six on the original Xbox, and like those games were like, you try to play those and then you go play Halo. Halo feels like a cakewalk compared to those games.
Oh yeah, very much so. But that's pretty much what I've been playing.
Cool. What about you, Josh?
I'll keep it brief because I know you guys have talked about these games recently, but Guardians of the Galaxy and the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It's pretty much what I've been doing since Christmas. My first time playing through Mass Effect ever. I played the first game a long time ago. All I remembered was the decision with Rex on Vermeer. That's literally the only thing I remembered from the entire game, and a couple of the characters. That was it. Went in completely fresh. Somehow have never been spoiled on the events of 2 or 3 at all.
That's actually beautiful. Surprising, considering how many people talk about this game.
I was not playing games very much when 2 and 3 came out. Okay. I was a senior in high school when 2 came out, and none of my friends played RPGs like that. We all played Elder Scrolls. And then 3 came out when I was in college and working full time. So just never really had the chance to get back to them. And of course, the original Xbox One didn't have backwards compatibility for several years, so I didn't have a 360 anymore, never went back to them. There are podcasts on this network where I swore up and down for about 6 months out of last year that I was not buying this game, I was not going to play it until it came to Game Pass, and I caved on Black Friday, got it for $25. Of course, the day I finished Mass Effect 3, they announced it's coming to Game Pass.
Of course. But aren't you glad? Aren't you glad?
I'm actually okay with it because I like these games so much. And I'm still one of those weirdos who, if I like a game enough, I like to have a physical copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
So I'm perfectly okay with it. 3 of the best RPGs I've ever played for $25. Cool. Like 2 is simply like one of the 6 or 7 best games I've played in my entire life. The suicide mission is just chef's kiss. That is the best scripted, the most consequential, the most meticulously thought out RPG series of missions that I think I've ever played. Where literally everything mattered, and then it still impacts your entire experience in 3. I got out of it with everybody alive, so it made my experience in 3 that much better. I've seen what happens when you don't have everybody alive in 3, and I'm just... it's not as satisfying to me, especially the Citadel DLC.
Yeah.
That may be the best, like, obviously not counting, like, full-on expansions, like Witch Queen or, Beyond Light or anything like that. I would say it's one of the best DLCs I've ever played from a story standpoint, if not the best.
Citadel is so fun. It's hilarious. Like, it stands out as, like, so unique compared to all the rest of the game.
It's so
like,
funny.
It's like a buddy cop. It's a buddy cop.
Oh, it's a buddy cop. Yeah. It's hilarious because you have Shepard being like, God, do I really sound like that?
Yeah, they're all captured. He's like, well, I don't say that. I say, like, I should go. No, I should.
I should.
I should.
I should go. And that's pretty great. It was worth it to see Rex in a tuxedo. That was pretty great. And then, just the house party. That's the house party, the individual little side quests you get to do with all of your companions. There's a funeral for a certain somebody that I was not expecting to see in there, and I got really emotional during it because this was the final thing I did before actually finishing the game. And the character that I romanced into, spoiler alert, I did Miranda, kept it going in number 3. It made the final time you talk to her right before the final assault on the Reapers that much more impactful. After going through that and keeping everyone alive, just God, the cast of characters is so good. Like, if you pressed me to make a top 5, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would have to make you a top 10 and then not rank it because it's that hard to rank how good these characters are. And I said this in the Discord earlier this week. I attempted to start Dragon Age for the first time after this, and this is gonna sound harsher than I intended it to, but I am just floored that Mass Effect and Dragon Age Origins came from the same studio. Yeah. That it is jaw-dropping to me, because Mass Effect 1 came out 2 years before and just feels so much more advanced. Mechanically, in terms of storytelling, character development, voice acting, gameplay, it feels so much more advanced. Like, it makes Dragon Age Origins look like a PS2 game.
Honestly, it does. I'll agree with you on that.
I mean, we had this conversation on Tower Casuals too. It's just like Mass Effect. It's like Mass Effect is so, like, leagues above at least what I played of Dragon Age back in the day. I haven't played Inquisition yet, which I know is like a lot better.
I'm gonna skip straight to Inquisition this week. And I should add this with a caveat. High fantasy is typically a harder sell with me in a video game, but then again, I mean, like, Oblivion is probably my second favorite RPG ever made. And I said this to Corey. I can't believe that Oblivion came out in the same generation as... Oblivion and Mass Effect 2 came out in the same generation as Origins. Because both of them they both feel leaps and bounds ahead. And so I kind of sarcastically made this quip. I says, I don't understand. This is the franchise we so desperately want a 4th game for. Like, I now understand why people were upset with Andromeda, because I've tried playing Andromeda and I probably will never finish it. But I would still play Andromeda over Dragon Age. That's where I'm at right now, unfortunately. And, like, I totally get there are a bunch... Stoy, I know you're a big fan of Dragon Age. Like, I'm not saying it's just, like, rag on it and be like, oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever played. Because it's not a bad game. It's just, you're coming off a high of one of the greatest trilogies ever made in gaming. And it's like, oh.
No, you're right. Okay. I mean, Dragon Age is a harder sell.
I went from the trilogy to Andromeda to Dragon Age. It was a real steep drop for me.
The funny thing is, Inquisition is so similar to Andromeda.
Oh no!
Both like in gameplay elements, not in story. the story is a little bit. I mean, obviously, it's not like as in depth as Inquisition, but like where Inquisition has all these little hub worlds that you go to and stuff. And you have all those kind of like it's like partially open world. I forget what they call it, but it's kind of similar in that vein, gameplay wise.
Well, I said one of the things that I think really worked against Dragon Age for me is that, and I mean, I get that I'm playing the best optimized version. It's got the FPS boost. It's got the auto HDR. I played through Pillars of Eternity last summer, and it's real hard for me to go to a game that has party management and a high fantasy when I've played through that, and I've watched good friends of mine play an entire Divinity campaign. It's like, oh, I'd kind of rather just go play that, or just I play Dungeons and Dragons a couple times a month. I'd rather just go play D&D at this point. I'd rather go play with my rogue that I actually like, and that I don't want to just like yeet off the next cliff that I find. It's frustrating because I went from some of the best NPCs I've ever had in a game to just some of the most forgettable. Like outside of Morrigan, I don't care about any character I've met.
You know, and it's interesting because you won't see those characters in the next few games.
Oh God, it's like
so.
In Mass
Effect, it's nice for
you,
I guess, if that's what you're into, because a lot of them were so forgettable that it was just like, whatever. They just
like it's weird because in Mass Effect 1, I kind of felt the same coming out of Mass Effect 1. I'll be honest, like that it has not aged terribly well.
No,
compared to 2 and 3 have aged beautifully. Number 1 though, I think because it's much more of an RPG than 2 and 3 are. By 3, you're basically playing Gears of War light. But the characters outside, I found in the first one at least, I felt that none of them were really super developed outside. Rex got a full arc, and that's because he has the potential to die. Compared to 2, where the loyalty missions, I think, are so beyond anything you've done in an RPG. Like, it's clear that like Fallout 4 borrowed from that with the loyalty missions, with the individual character side quests. And I love that so much because it allows you to have moments with these NPCs, like characters I could not have cared less about until I did their loyalty missions. Like Jack, wasn't sold on her, did her loyalty mission, instantly one of my favorite companions after that. I think Miranda's added a different layer to her, and if she survives, how the ending of 3 plays out is so much different. In her relation to Cerberus and the Elusive Man, like God, the Elusive Man, like can we talk Martin Sheen, one of the all-time great gaming villains. Martin Sheen.
Really. Martin Sheen.
Uncle Ben is one of the all-time great video game villains, I think.
That's one of those things. Sure. I don't think anybody else could have played him. No one else.
Willem
I think
Dafoe.
Martin. That was.
It's so crazy because I feel like Saren is the better villain. Like.
I think Saren has the better story, but I think my attachment to the Elusive, I do think that 3 fumbles the ball with him, especially in the final act.
Yeah.
It just feels like, okay. But for the first 2/3 of 3 and all of 2, like in 2, he's an ally. Like he's not a villain, but you get this feeling in 2 that you're eventually going to have to turn on this guy because he's nuts, but he's willing to do whatever it takes for you. He doesn't really get mad. He didn't get mad at my Shepherd until the end of the game. That's the one time I truly angered him, was at the end. I chose, not to salvage the base or anything like that. And he was like, well,
chose to destroy it, yeah.
F you, here's my metaphorical middle finger for you. I hope you all die there. And I think that Saren is good, but I think you have to read the first book to really appreciate him. Yeah. Because the backstory between him and Anderson makes it so much more personal, and it's a much more personal story. And Shepard is kind of it's a father-son relationship between Shepard and Anderson, or father-daughter. However you chose to play. I played as male Shep. I don't know. It's such a great trilogy, and it's so hard. That's why it's been so hard for me to get back into other things. Like Guardians is not. I don't think Guardians is bad, but I'm like, I just left this awesome series with these companions I like. I'm ready to kick Rocket Raccoon out of the next airlock that I find.
Actually, same.
I like Rocket as a character in literally everything else, but he's just such a dick that I'm ready to get rid of him. And for me, it's like I've seen so many incarnations of the Guardians that I already like that this is like I like the relaunch of the Guardians in the comics from 2011. I like him in the Annihilation event. I like him in the Thanos Imperative. I like Drax. I like Drax back in the 90s. When he literally became Coin the Destroyer. I like the James Gunn movies, the animated series, Telltale. I'm like, oh my god, this is like the 8th reboot of the Guardians I've gotten, and so far outside of Drax, nobody is capturing my heart. Drax is like the best he's ever been here.
Yeah. Drax
wearing glasses, reading Sarcasm for Dummies is just one of the best things I've ever seen in a video game, I think.
Yeah. I gotta say, Guardians did start a little slow, but Rocket and Drax and even Mantis became like some of my favorite characters in the entire game. And I know those are like a lot of those are characters that people don't like at the beginning, but end up turning towards the end.
That's great, and I like hearing that, and I've seen it get so many nominations and awards for its storytelling, and I'm waiting for that to kick in. I'm a little over a third of the way through the missions.
Yeah, you said you're on Nowhere, right?
I'm on Nowhere.
It's gonna turn for you real soon.
That's reassuring to hear. I don't dislike it. It's just between that and there's a few I'm finally getting into the flow of the combat. There were a few combat instances where I was like, all right, I gotta put this down for a little bit. I'm just getting annoyed.
Yeah, the combat's definitely.
I look forward to finishing it.
The combat's definitely the weakest part of the game until you start unlocking all the other characters' special moves and learning which combos go with which moves go with which moves to maximize your combos and stuff. And I
think that this Star-Lord is just so boring.
But I also think that this Star-Lord is kind of like a vessel for the player to learn about the other characters. That's just how at the beginning of the game, I was like, okay, I know this. A lot of people have a problem with this version of Star-Lord. I'm just gonna use him to learn about the other characters.
I think it's also his voice actor. His voice actor just sounds so bored whenever he delivers his lines. Like, come on, guys. Like, I'm sorry, Star-Lord he's not a whiner. Like, this dude just sounds whiny and like, come on, I'm taking my ball and going home. That's what he sounds like half the time. Like, begging and pleading, and all the other Guardians are like, oh my god, like,
yeah, right.
Will you get a grip? Like, be a man. I don't know. I'm gonna sit here and nitpick, but I am genuinely enjoying parts of Guardians. I'm waiting. Both of you said before we started that it was gonna pick up for me real soon.
The second half of this game, at least, it just gets real wacky and real hilariously awesome. Like in the villains and the main threat in the game, it's just real over the top stupid almost, but it's the best part of the game.
I mean, that's the best Guardians stories is when it's over the top and stupid.
Yeah, it's really over the top and stupid. But
all right. I'll take your word for it then. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Corey, what are you playing?
I want you to come back, and if Corey's wrong or if I'm wrong, I want you to come back and tell us.
Oh, I will. I will not be quiet.
Okay, cool.
I finished Guardians of the Galaxy on Friday, and the ending is real good. I really liked it.
All right.
And then there's also
you guys are making a hard sell here. So
also I was like, okay, how do your choices really matter in this game? And it's not quite like Mass Effect where there's threads or anything, but there's a clear if you did this one thing, then at the end this thing's gonna happen. But if you didn't do it, it's not, right? There's it definitely takes those choices into consideration, and some of the choices I made the end of the game significantly less challenging, I would say.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it was kind of nice to be like, oh, neat. I can do this, and I don't want to spoil anything for Josh, but man, some of the characters and stuff that are in there, and it's so good. It's so good. Oh man, the second half of that game is definitely the second half of the game made me want to instantly go back and play it almost immediately again to finish up the achievements, which I don't know if I will because I really want to play Mass Effect, but anyways. That's kind of all I've been playing. I've been playing some Metroid Dread too, but because I haven't finished that. either. But anyways, that's it. I don't want to waste any more time talking about the games we've been talking about for like 3 weeks now. So let's jump into the news. The headlines, as they say. What? Did you make a noise? What was the noise? What was the sound effect? Did you do that?
I made a da-da-da. That's all.
Is that? Are we going to start doing that now?
Do you want me to?
Yes.
Okay. I got to think of something better then.
Stoy. Let's get to the headlines. That's worse. This is too long.
Is that worse? Well, that was the opening.
It's too long.
When you boot up the original Xbox.
It's fair.
You know the bubbles.
Yeah. Remember?
I'll think of something.
Remember when they made a stage for the 20th anniversary based off the original? That was cool.
That was really cool. There should have been more. There should have been more using that stage because
I wish Phil Spencer was in like the little weird morphing X bubble.
Right. Yeah.
And then he just plops down. Anyways,
it just like superimposes on his face.
Yeah. Why not? Oh man, remember when the X used to like it was like a crinkled piece of paper and it was like and it just made the X? Oh, that's cool. Anyways, the headlines. Xbox Series X and S consoles are the fastest selling generation of Xbox ever. Wow, surprise.
Like every other generation?
Yeah. In a recent interview with the New York Times, Phil Spencer discussed Xbox and where the console is positioned as of January 2022, on top of discussing his current statements about Xbox's relationship with Activision. He also talked more about the Series X and S sales and the company's various business models relating to Xbox. Good news, Series X and S and the platform itself, including PC, are thriving. And though he didn't give direct sales numbers, he did state that the Series family of consoles are the fastest selling in Xbox history. Now, analyst, who was it? Daniel Ahmad did some research over at Eurogamer. And he said this would put Xbox Series X and S over 12 million shipped, according to our estimates. The dual SKU strategy has paid off for Microsoft with the supply chain issues and semiconductor shortage. Increased production of S allowed for more Xboxes on shelves if they had only made the X, which we're going to talk more about that later in the episode, but it's good news for Xbox. I think some people were originally estimating about 7 or 8 million, and 12 million shipped. That would probably put it at at least 10 million sold. I would say at least. It
would put it around 10 million sold. I mean, these things aren't staying on shelves when they come in. They're instantly going out. Like the only time I've seen them stay around is in those stupid GameStop bundles because nobody wants to spend $800.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think like you said, the dual SKU model and the Series S being easy to manufacture and more readily available on store shelves, I think is definitely, especially when kids this past holiday season, kids wanted a system, and the Series S is the best chance you have of getting a new system under the Christmas tree. So I definitely think that helped.
Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of people get Series S's for the holidays. Like across my Twitter feed, it's just like people holding up their boxes, people showing off their boxes and stuff, and like some people got a Series X and they got a Series S for their kid or something. It was kind of cool to see. It's strange to see people be excited about Xbox again. I know we were all kind of excited last year, but this year especially with like Forza and Psychonauts and Halo and stuff and then a lot of upcoming stuff. It's like, man, Xbox really has reasons to be excited again. Outside of being like a hardcore Xbox fan. So. Yeah, good on them.
It's a great interview. Like everybody should go read it. It's really good. And I don't know if this is the same article or not, but he did an interview with Kara Swisher last week as well. I think that was part of this. It was a whole thing over the New York
I think
Times.
It was part of this too. I think it's in the same interview.
It's great. Everyone should go listen to that too. That's where he he talked about the whole Xbox Live is not a free speech platform.
Yeah.
That we were referencing at the beginning. That's the interview that this came out of. Just some great stuff that he talked about this week.
Yeah.
Always like it when Phil talks about the state of the industry and where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, like we always joke that Phil Spencer is our Lord and Savior, and he is like a saint among saints in terms of the video game world because he's a celebrity. I mean, when he comes on stage and he's got that kind of, I mean, he doesn't have a swagger, but he's got a way about him that it's like, that's Phil Spencer. That's the man right there.
He's Xbox's Reggie Fils-Aimé.
Really, he really is. I mean, he's a little less awkward than Reggie Fils-Aimé.
That's fair.
But
he's a face that Xbox hasn't had in a long time. I mean, who's the last person that they really had to trot out there from corporate? Peter Moore?
Bill Gates.
I think Peter Moore was the only real charismatic guy.
Yeah, I mean, God, because we don't want to remember Don Matrick.
No, we don't. Ooh.
We don't want to remember Phil Harrison.
Oh.
There was that weird...
The guy everybody hires to kill their console.
There was the weird 2-year stretch where we tried to have Peter Molyneux at things.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Jason Jones was never seen publicly for Bungie. Like, there's just all these weird things, and the stars kind of had to align perfectly for Phil to be the guy. But yeah, he's the Reggie, he's the Shuhei, he's Sean Layden. Like, he's whoever you want to put him in the shoes of for these other companies. That's
way to name the two Sony guys that are no longer front facing and are not part of the company anymore.
Well, I certainly didn't want to call him Xbox's Jim Ryan because that would be a bad thing.
Yeah.
So we already had ours with Don Matrick. Okay, we went through this bullshit about 8 years ago.
Those were the dark ages. Those were the dark ages. Just that awkward the awkward hand movement that he did when he introduced the Xbox One still makes me cringe every time I see it.
Hey, they showed it. They did the whole thing in the
documentary.
Yeah, they showed it
multiple times. Actually, I don't know if you've ever heard the YouTube channel Stop Skeletons from Fighting or something like that. He does a really good deep dive into that Xbox One release, and he kind of does his own little documentary, but he really delves deeper into that whole fiasco that Xbox was a part of, where they tried to double down on the whole entertainment system, and Xbox gave people what they wanted, but then all of a sudden people came back and said, that's not what we want. And Microsoft's like, but you said this is what you wanted. So that's a whole nother story. Anyway,
I mean, here's the thing. You can make your box an entertainment center without making it your main marketing point,
Oh, yeah. Like that E3 conference where they talked about games maybe for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. And
the rest of it was like, hey, check out, you can watch TV on this thing.
TV. Come on, Josh. Join us. TV. Wow.
Nice. Very subtle.
Yeah.
I forget where I was going when we talked about Phil Spencer. I tend to kind of lose it when I talk.
We all do. It's fine. That's what this show's about.
But but he understands the core audience, and that's definitely what Microsoft needed, because Microsoft, being the big tech company that they are, they've always I guess I've always felt that maybe kind of fallen a little bit behind on that, even from the get-go. Like, when they first initially made the Xbox, they didn't really know. I guess they were still trying to kind of learn. And 20 years into it, I think they finally got it. I think they finally figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard to replace Phil Spencer when he's gone. Although I think there's enough pieces in place that if this team sticks together, like I could see Sarah Bond taking over at some point if Phil decides to retire early, or like
she would be good.
Yeah. Or
I mean, it'll probably be Sarah or Matt at this point.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule out somebody from Bethesda coming in. I wouldn't rule out Pete Hines being a more senior person. He's basically running Bethesda at this point.
Yeah.
So, Corey, you and I talked about this a while back, but it's so refreshing to see like people with visibility over on the Xbox side for once. Like,
I know.
For a long time, we've talked about how like there are names in gaming that when you hear so and so is directing a game or producing a game or writing it, like you immediately get excited. Amy Hennig, Neil Druckmann, Cory Barlog, like those are a few. I'm on Miyamoto, like for decades over at Nintendo. Like hell, he's executive producing new Zelda. Hell yeah, let's go. And now over at Xbox, it's like, oh, you have Todd Howard. Like you have Todd Howard bringing his first original universe to Xbox in like 25 years, like since Elder Scrolls. Like this is the guy who reinvented Fallout. Like this is the guy who made Oblivion and Skyrim and Morrowind and like all these great entries in some of like the best RPGs we've ever played, like Western RPGs. It's just refreshing to be like, oh my god, like this guy is making games for Xbox. Shinji Mikami works for Xbox now.
I know.
Like, I know. One of the OGs of Resident Evil. Like you paved the way for like
id Software is an Xbox studio now. You know, it used to be like, oh, Tim Schafer works at Xbox now. Like just these great creative minds that like, you know, that when they put their name on something, it may not be like the greatest thing they've ever done, but it's going to be unique. It's going to be a different experience than something else out there on the market. Like I'm so excited to see where we go from here. Like what comes next for Xbox. And I think Phil giving these, and I won't dwell on this long, but I think Phil giving these interviews and really kind of like setting the standard over the last several years. Like I see a lot of people going like, oh, you know, Phil's a hypocrite. You know, we saw how he talked about Activision Blizzard, and, you know, now he's admitting that there was bad conduct at Xbox. Spoiler alert, there's bad conduct at every single game studio, big or small. I hate to tell you this. This is a misogynistic, racist cesspool of an industry. Yes. It really is. It's every entertainment industry is not immune from this. I would go somewhere to say that most, like 95% of companies are not immune from stuff like this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, are they as bad as Activision Blizzard with a Bill Cosby suite and, you know, the state of California going after them for stuff like this? No, but it's not one extreme or the other. Okay. It's not just like, well, they didn't do Activision things, so it's not as bad. No, there were still things that happened there under people's watch, and thank God we have the capacity as adults and as human beings to recognize, repair, and restore. And it's just I sound like a third-rate motivational speaker at an airport Holiday Inn right now, but it really is that simple. It's that easy.
I'd pay to go to your TED Talks.
I wouldn't pay to go to my own TED Talk.
I wouldn't pay a lot of money, but I'll throw a couple bucks your way.
I'll throw the security guard $5 to stand and by the exit door.
Thanks, Stoy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
In case Josh had one too many scotches at lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, though, circling back to your point about how many big names that Xbox just brought on their studios, maybe, you know, for layman people that just, you know, don't know these names, it could mean nothing to them. But you're right; those are big names, big titans in the industry that Microsoft has basically in their portfolio right now. And that's a huge deal. And I think that's really what is driving these sales of like Microsoft coming out to say, we got the games, we got the names, we got the studios. This is going to be the place to be for the next 10 years, maybe more. Mm-hmm. So.
And like, hopefully like these same creators will stay long-term and won't just say, okay, well, you know what? We got our bag, we're leaving. And I don't think that that's the case. I mean, Tim Schafer's here. You know, we went through all the names that are here. The guys of Obsidian, Josh Sawyer is here. Fergus is here. Mm-hmm. You know, the guys at Rare have been here forever. Mm-hmm. they haven't left despite popular opinion. Like the same guys that were with Rare when at the time of purchase are still some of the studio heads to this day. Mm-hmm. I think something that they've all gotten across that I really respect is saying that Phil in particular, Phil and Matt, just like let them do whatever they want to do. I think my favorite quote came from Brian Fargo over at In Exile. I think it was last summer, right around E3 time. It may have been the year before. And he said he had Matt Booty to the studio for them to pitch their next game. And he said, we got about 60 seconds into the pitch and Matt cut us off and said, I don't want to know anymore. We'll fund it. You can do whatever you want. I don't want to know anymore because I don't want to influence the direction you take your idea. I want you to make the game you want to make. I don't want to tell you what to make. And that, for me, is something that Xbox has missed for, like, its first it missed for probably about the first 16, 17 years, if not longer. Like, that is, I mean, one of the most damning things, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the development of Halo 1 and 2 alone, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, so.
I mean, Halo 1, 2, and 3, you look at how Bungie, deuced out after Halo 3 because they were just like, we're
I
done.
think even like Microsoft gave them like, you have to make 5 Halo games. Like you have to, because they put all their cards into one basket on that, where like Halo's going to be the one to move the systems. And then once they realized their catalog didn't have much else, they had to think of something else.
I mean, it's so much of the early Xbox days were those key third-party partnerships with studios like BioWare, for example. Yeah. We forget that both Knights of the Republic games and Jade Empire were exclusive. We forget they had deals with Oddworld.
Even into
the first Mass Effect was exclusive.
Yeah.
Even into the 360, that Oblivion came to the 360 first. Gears wasn't even owned by Microsoft until after Epic sold it to them after the third game, right? Yeah. So I mean, even midway through the 360 cycle, they still really had Lionhead, they had Turn 10, and they had Bungie, right?
Yeah.
Like that was Xbox, and now look.
And they bought Rare. Yeah, they bought Rare in 2003 for Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Don't forget Cameo.
Cameo, Perfect Dark Zero, Nuts and Bolts. Yeah. Oof, we had a rough stretch there outside of Viva Pinata.
I liked Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, but it was not a banjo game.
No,
it was fun for what it was, but it was not a banjo game. So, anyways, Xbox sells a lot of units. That's how we got here.
I think their market their market in Japan. I think they sold more units in Japan than I think they ever have in their history, and I think that's really helped them too as well.
Yeah, the Xbox Series consoles outsold the entirety of every other Xbox platform combined within the first year. So that's I mean, it's still like 12 units, but
this is a Series S effect as far as I'm concerned. And I mean, we'll talk more about the Series S later, but like really, we cannot overstate how important that has been to the first 12 months of this console.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're moving on to another mega purchase, if you want to call it that. Take-Two Interactive has purchased Zynga for $12.7 billion. Take-Two Interactive.
Man, we thought that Bethesda acquisition was a lot of money. Man, like, wow.
Take-Two Interactive, the company behind Grand Theft Auto, BioShock, Borderlands, NBA 2K, and more, has purchased the massive mobile game developer Zynga for a whopping $12.7 billion, almost twice what Microsoft paid for Bethesda. The mega publisher stated they bought the company to create mobile experiences for their most popular franchises. Zynga is most notably known for their games Farmville and Words with Friends, though the company hit financial trouble in the mid-2010s due to the lack of in-game spending and poor managerial decisions. I wonder who went there after they left Microsoft. Don Matrick. You just
the calls are coming from inside the house, ladies and gentlemen.
You break everything you touch.
I mean, this is probably like a, hey, we have a chance to kind of overcome Activision at this point, and they have King, so we're gonna buy Zynga, right? I mean, that's kind of what this feels like almost.
Oh, 100%. 100%. This is them finally realizing that mobile accounts for way more revenue in the games industry than anybody wants to admit. I think there was some data that Matt Piscatella tweeted out the other day. If you don't know Matt, he's great with the MPD reporting. He actually does the reporting, releases the numbers for them. He said something like 35% of gamers play on a console, 34 are on PC, and the remainder are all on mobile. When gamers were interviewed about where's the primary place they play, like some absurd number was on mobile. It was like 50% almost. And he's like, mobile makes up so much more than you realize. He's like, we think about this in American terms of, oh, well, we just want to play on consoles and PC. Like, you don't realize that, like, gamers aren't just playing things like Infinity Blade on their phone. It's people who are playing Pokemon Go. It's people who are playing Bejeweled. Hello, I play a lot of Bejeweled on my phone. It's the people that are playing. Hey, we all have a bathroom game, okay?
Yep, that's my bathroom game.
It's the soccer moms who are playing Candy Crush. Like, these all count, whether you want to admit it or not. These all count. These are games. Just because they don't fit in your narrow definition of a game doesn't mean that they're not a game.
Hey, you know how long I've played Disney Emoji Blitz?
A very long time.
Mm-hmm. Josh, I think I've been playing since I've known you, actually.
I think you have too, because we bring it up periodically about our bathroom games.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, yes, what a mobile game is, the definition is starting to evolve, but I think Take-Two probably looked at this, like Stoy said, and this is the chance to overcome Activision. This is an opportunity for us to expand our titles into mobile. I would not be shocked to see a GTA mobile. Eventually, they've had those awful ports to the phones for years. I mean, for God's sake, the remasters we just got are based off the iPhone versions.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked to see that. I wouldn't be shocked to see some free-to-play Red Dead game and especially 2K, NBA 2K. I can't believe that that's not a mobile money printing machine right now.
Yeah, I mean, there is a version, but it's just like, I feel like it exists because they have to compete with stuff like Madden and stuff, you know?
Yeah. I think this is, like, I'm not even talking about it like in terms of consumers, but this is a pretty easy win for 2K. Like, people are like, oh, I can't believe they spent that much money. Like, yeah, it's a little shocking until you realize they're going to make all that back in like a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if that. So,
if that.
Yeah.
Because you may not play those games, but the very, very silent majority who doesn't follow every little dick measuring contest on Twitter does play those games. They buy. You got whales out there. You've got soccer moms who spend $1 for 5 more lives periodically. Like those dollars add up.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. When you think of how these companies like Zynga, I can only imagine like makes like millions of dollars a day just on those little microtransactions alone, which, you know, Take-Two sees this as an opportunity to not only obviously pad their income, you know, even more so, but yeah, moving their properties, like we talked about earlier, to that market too as well, to make even more money, to take advantage of another market. Like, how many gamers, quote unquote, that are playing Grand Theft Auto right now are going to find that there's a really good game mobile version, you know? Like, we're talking like a unique gameplay experience, not just a port of Grand Theft Auto 3 to the iPhone. We're talking like a very unique experience that could even maybe blend the two games together. Same with Red Dead Redemption 2 or NBA 2K. Like, imagine all the possibilities that Take-Two are now seeing in front of their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, guess we'll see, I guess. But man, I hope we get a Grand Theft Auto Farmville edition where you're like running over farmers with
Corey, move
plows.
on. I hate you.
No, you
Move
don't.
on.
No, you don't. All right, so those are the major stories. We're gonna head to the wrap up. Sega is opening a new studio in Japan called Sega Sapporo Studio, led by the Phantasy Star Online 2 producer Takaya Sagawa. This studio is intended to develop and deliver high-quality AAA titles and serve as a second development base for the company. Sagawa stated that he wants to lead the studio that, quote, strives to provide a moving experience for customers and to create a studio that values its staff. Not much else is known about the project and the studio will be working on. Next, it seems that Killer Instinct may be making a comeback if recent rumors are to be believed. In a recent article over at Windows Central from Jez Corden, it seems that Microsoft is working with Bandai Namco to develop a new entry to the series. Thanks for the heads up for that, Josh. You tweeted that.
Is that his real name, Jez? What kind of name is
Yep.
it? Jez.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one to talk, but still.
What kind of name is Stoy?
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Weirdos.
Yeah, thanks for the heads up on that, Josh. That was a good tweet or DM that you DM'd me for that. Microsoft has always shown to remote interest in returning to the fighting franchise, and recently Phil Spencer discussed as much on an episode of the Drop Frames podcast. Killer Instinct, originally released in 1994 in arcades, imported to the Super Nintendo. A second game was also released, and a gold version made its way to the Nintendo 64 in 1996. The most recent game, also titled Killer Instinct, released on the Xbox One in November of 2013.
This, just for a split second here, this feels like the easiest slam dunk you could possibly do if you're Microsoft. I get that finding fighting talent is really, really difficult. There's like maybe 3 or 4 teams, and they're all tied up on things. Like the team at Iron Galaxy who worked on this probably are no longer there at this point, and their new fighter looks terrible. Like it sounds and looks awful.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I mean, like you've got NetherRealm, and you've got the Street Fighter team,
and you've got
Bandai Namco, and you've
Arc
got
System Works.
Arc Systems. Yeah. And Arcsys is not going to work on an Xbox game. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, they're not making an Xbox exclusive.
I mean, they wouldn't work on anything that remotely looked like Killer Instinct.
they're gonna make a My Hero Academia fighter this year.
And Bandai Namco has shown that they obviously can do really well with. They've done various anime titled games, like even with Dragon Ball Fighters. Like,
I mean, they were the main support studio on the last couple Smash games.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Tekken is still like quietly one of the biggest fighting games still.
It's just like this is a kind of a no-brainer partnership. They've been getting closer with Bandai Namco over the last several months. I mean, there was all that speculation that Scarlet Nexus was going to be a day one Game Pass game, ended up not being, but came a couple months later. Tales of Arise was pushed really hard on Xbox. It's just I think this is a really solid partnership, and it's probably the only team that's available that you're not having to start from scratch. Combine this with the fact
to see them to do this,
they just hired away one of the senior people at NetherRealm at the end of last year to come be a producer at Xbox Game Studios. This feels like this is going to be one of the things, and it was somebody who's been with with NetherRealm since the Midway days. So
I want
the writing is on the wall. The calls are coming from inside the house.
Imagine, Josh, I know we kind of talked about this the other day, but like if WB Games was really for sale and they bought more like NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat, and they could just do a Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct game. That
would be cool. I don't know that Phil would ever allow it though, because of how hyper violent Mortal Kombat is, and I think Phil wants something that comes down in the middle between, and this is what I very much feel Killer Instinct 2013 was, that comes down between the goofiness of Smash Brothers and the seriousness of Mortal Kombat.
I always thought I've never really played or paid attention to Killer Instinct because I'm just not into fighting games. I only know Mortal Kombat because it's so ridiculous, and Street Fighter because it's so popular. But like, I always thought Killer Instinct was along the same lines as Mortal Kombat. Is it not?
No, I mean, Mortal Kombat is borderline adults only with its violence and blood.
There are no fatalities or anything like that, like in terms of, what Mortal Kombat has. But no, it had very brutal combo-focused combat that Mortal Kombat didn't have at that time.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't
we're
know
talking.
that. I always
talking
assumed
some brutal fighting combos, and I think honestly, combo systems that games have to this day owe it to Killer Instinct. Because I remember just like, cramming, button mashing the hell out of it, having these patterns and just knocking out like 20 hit combos in Killer Instinct, feeling like a badass,
Okay.
And I think fighting games now really owe it to Killer Instinct.
I mean, it may be called Killer Instinct in the future, but it's pretty clearly going to have the Killer Instinct roster and probably some more original characters, plus just a whole plethora of Microsoft and Bethesda characters. Like, you're going to tell me you don't want to see the power armor suit from Fallout fighting against Iago from Killer Instinct?
Like, okay.
I mean, Battletoads, General Rom, Arbiter, we're all in the last one.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, like, you can take it so much farther. Like, will Banjo-Kazooie be the first character to be in both this and Smash?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
that feels like the easiest yes of all time, but I think it's purely for reasons like that you're not going to see this be on the level of like Mortal Kombat in terms of violence. Okay. Nobody wants to see Banjo-Kazooie get decapitated if you're trying to sell this to a child.
Okay. Well, that's my mistake then. I always thought Killer Instinct was along the same lines as Mortal Kombat.
No.
It just always looked like that from like the art and stuff, but it's on Game Pass, right? The deluxe edition
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever it is. So I maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I'll just download it and see what it's about. Because like I just never.
I enjoyed the newest one for what it's worth. I think the classic ones are on Game Pass as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't care about those. I want the newest one.
No, the newest one is really good. Really good.
It's very good. I was shocked that when it came out free at the launch. I was like, oh, well, this is kind of weird. Like charging per fighter. And then it was like, well, this actually was kind of a good idea. They had it where like there was a different free fighter every couple days that you could play as to like try everybody out.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a cool experimental idea that I think would have been perfect for Game Pass, but obviously came out like 8 years before.
Right.
So.
All right, moving on to our next wrap-up story. After being rumored for over a week, the highly anticipated Xbox timed exclusive Stalker 2 has officially been delayed out of April, as confirmed by the official Twitter account for the game. In the tweet, developer GSC Game World stated that they delayed the title to December 8th, 2022, and that the decision was not an easy one. They also said that they believe that, quote, development should take as long as necessary, especially in the case of such a project.
Take all the time you need.
Yep.
Yep.
And that 3-month window that time exclusive is only a 3-month window. So that's...
As of the last documents we saw that were leaked from the Epic case, I think after the positive reception that it got at E3 last year, Microsoft probably tried to shore this up as a long-term exclusive.
Yeah.
And I mean, after the NFT bullshit we just went through with this game a couple weeks ago, which I think, yes, there was a lot of public pressure, but Phil also, I think, called him and was like, hey, cut this shit out.
Yeah.
Like, we'll terminate your agreement because he's made it really clear he's not about that.
Yeah.
I think the only question remaining now is, and obviously we don't have to get into it, but just something kind of to ponder over the next few weeks is, where does this leave Xbox's slate of exclusives between now and E3? Because it's kind of dire now.
I mean, I think that's why there's been a bunch of Game Pass deals being made.
Oh, 100%. And it's like, well, this is great now. What do we do when we're out of January? The January's probably been one of the best months ever for Game Pass. What do you do for the players that don't have it? You have Crossfire X and...
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
the Top Gun DLC, if Top Gun actually comes out in March or in May, excuse me.
Is that when the movie's supposed to come out? Jeez, I almost forgot about that.
Oh,
it's been pushed back for 2.5 years. Every 6 months they delay it. It's probably going to get delayed again though. So
they want it in the theaters, and I don't think that movie has the cachet to hit theaters the way they want it to. But
not post pandemic.
Yeah.
But
it's no Spider-Man.
Nothing is Spider-Man.
All right, moving on. Is Age of Empires 4 coming to Xbox? It seems so, as Twitter user and leaker at Lumia Italia, an account who follows the Xbox ecosystem pretty closely, discovered a tag in the Insider Hub for Xbox Insiders program named Cardinal. For those unaware, Cardinal was the internal code name for Age of Empires 4 at World's End and Relic, the co-developers of the game. Although there is no other indication that the game will make its way to Xbox, it does seem more likely of a when than an if at this point.
Be interesting to see how they do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's Halo
Get
Wars.
some of the people who worked on Halo Wars.
Yeah. Sega also worked on Halo Wars 2. I mean, Creative Assembly could probably map that gamepad pretty easily. You know, I mean, I know Halo Wars 2 is way simpler than Age of Empires, but
who was the studio that ported Divinity Original Sin 2 to the systems?
Oh,
I mean, that game was a
Virtuous,
nightmare
maybe?
to play on PC. Much less, mapping it to a controller.
That's a great question. I'm not really sure off the top of my head.
But I mean, it's possible to say, like there's studios out there that can do this.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I mean, Relic was a code developer, right? So I mean, Creative Assembly is also owned by Sega. So I mean, they could, take some pointers from their own internal teams. The last story on the wrap-up, State of Decay 2 is getting more content this year, almost 4 years after the game initially released. In a third game well into development, Undead Labs has announced that State of Decay 2 will continue to receive multiple content updates. These updates will rework infestations, making them more dangerous but more rewarding, updating the game's UI and make objectives more clear to players, while tweaking some of the survival elements to make the game feel better. All these changes are due to community feedback. this tells me that State of Decay 3 is way further out than originally anticipated, I think. So, that's it.
I've always been meaning to go back into the State of Decay 2. I really had a good time with it. And I don't know. Maybe now's a good time.
Well, that Juggernaut edition is optimized for Series X and S now.
Yeah.
So
sick.
I wonder if they're doing like this is probably the wrong way to phrase it, but practicing do these updates to make the third game better out the gate, like better UI, better survival elements, making objectives more clear. Like these all seem like things that they're trying to implement into 2 now, so when 3 launches, they don't have a State of Decay 1 to 2 type of kerfluffle, right? Because I think that was the big thing is like, well, State of Decay 1 is charming because it's janky, but now you have Microsoft's full budget behind it and you're charging $60 for it, and it still feels janky and unfinished and hard to decipher where we're going.
It's perfect because it's kind of beta testing.
Yeah.
Try out the features on the previous game and, see how it works.
Yeah. I'm for it.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the news. We're going to move on to our segment called Pass It On, where we talk about what's coming to Game Pass next week. And oh boy, is this a doozy. Stoy.
Yeah. We got a surprise, obviously, that just popped up, I think, last week. But, we have Nobody Saves the World. This is made by the Guacamelee developers.
I can't wait for this.
This game
I
is
have been
amazing.
eagerly anticipating this since it got revealed last year.
It looks
What
so
a
unique.
get.
It's like a top-down action RPG where you take on the role of many, many characters, and all with their own different special abilities. The art, it just looks amazing. Mm-hmm. Looks so cartoony. The animation, like this studio really nails it with kind of like it's not cell shading, but it's like having a very strong
distinct
color palette.
It's a very distinct.
It's kind of
style.
a hybrid between like traditional top down and cell shading though.
And then kind of like comic art style.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Binding of Isaac, a little bit.
Yeah,
but like
I would say
cleaner.
Binding of Isaac or like Hollow Knight, but top down.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I would say more Hollow Knight, kind of like looks like hand drawn, I guess. But
this is also.
However,
oh, sorry, Stoy.
I was gonna say, however you cut it, it just looks amazing. That's all.
This is Xbox first, also, right? Like it's a.
This is a timed exclusive on Xbox. That's what I'm saying. Like this is a huge get.
Yeah,
because Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2 started out like Guacamelee at least was one of the first like real indies that PlayStation pushed last generation.
Yeah.
And it was on PS Plus and all this. Like I remember playing through it on my Vita
and
loving it.
And Drinkbox made a name for themselves for making not 1, not 2, but 3 Vita exclusives. They were all later ported, obviously, but like you had Mutant Blob's Attack, you had Severed. Like these were Vita games. So.
Yeah,
it's pretty great. This is their first game in 4 years. I'm really excited to see how this is.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the next game. Let me tell you about the next game that you're going to be even more excited for. Do you like taking pictures of your dogs?
I do.
Well, then there's a
I don't
game
have
for
dogs,
you.
but I do.
But there's a game for you now called Paparazzi.
Ooh.
This is coming out on January 20th.
I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, me too, actually. I think this got announced in one of the Xbox features, I think last year, where I was like, that's game of the year 2022 already. Where it's like basically you have dogs in like various different settings. You can dress them up. You can put hats on them, and you can take pictures of them. And then you have different quests like, take a picture of your dog with a hat with like other dogs in the background. You can make them sit. You can make them roll over. You can make them do all sorts of things. Like, come on.
This is the feel-good game I need, especially after one of the other ones that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. But, this is I don't know if this is a timed exclusive or not, but or if it's I don't think it's I really don't think it is. But this is coming out on the 20th as well. But we also have Windjammers. Now this is an interesting game too. This is it's like a competitive something.
Like disc tennis.
Yeah. But like,
have you never played Windjammers? Stoy?
No, I've never played Windjammers.
What?
But I knew so many people that played it because like I think this was like Dreamcast exclusive for a long time.
Ah, man, it was
Right,
also
wasn't
really
it?
popular in the arcade.
Yeah,
That's where I played it. I
But
didn't know it came to
it-
Dreamcast.
It kind of reminds me of like, extreme competitive tennis slash frisbee slash super dodgeball stylings, but same kind of really cool anime looking color palette. But yeah, like that's cool.
Cool.
That's coming out. That's coming out on the 20th as well. You got Rainbow Six Extraction,
Ooh.
the new game mode that's coming out where you're part of the Rainbow Six team, and apparently aliens have just sprouted up from the ground
Gooey
and it
aliens,
started
as I hear.
affecting everything. Yeah, and you have to actually extract people.
It's like that first alien in Men in Black that,
Yeah.
blows up. Blue goop all over the guys. Except this goop is purple.
Well, yeah, like this is kind of like it's a very unique, different mode for Rainbow Six because Rainbow Six in its history has never gone this far in terms of like science fiction. Rainbow Six does have a very minor kind of like futuristic elements, but like this deep into science fiction and like monsters and stuff like that. I mean, there's boss fights in Rainbow Six Extraction that you have to deal with in terms of fighting with your co-op partners. But yeah, this isn't like a multiplayer mode. This is kind of like more like a terrorist hunt slash going with your team of 4 people, extract the hostage, fight your way out, fight for survival, stuff like that. So that's coming out on the 20th as well. And then you got the original Hitman trilogy.
This is what I'm most excited for.
Coming out on the 20th as well. So
now
I encourage everyone to play this trilogy.
This is all the this includes all the DLC for 1 and 2, correct?
Yeah, I think
and then
it should be everything that's currently released.
Yeah, not the year 2 stuff they just announced for Hitman 3, but
year
everything
2 for
up
number 3
to that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So that's cool. I got to tell you, man, I got to give it to IO with this series, right? Like they've just persisted, and like Hitman 2 was really good, and now 3 was just like a phenomenon this year. And the way they've integrated the first 2 games into the third game for this huge package is just like, man, they have something really special here, and it like makes me really excited for that 007 game they're working on.
I know.
Oh my god, I forgot that was their next game.
Forgot about that too. Yeah.
Oh, good god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, and that's a cool thing because like when you play as Hitman 3, you have access to Hitman 1 and 2, but obviously you have to play those individually. So like you fire up Hitman 3, and it's like one big hub, like to fire up the other Hitmans. But now, you get access to both of them for free, or not for free technically, but
yeah.
But yeah, this is obviously coinciding with all the other systems releases. But if you're saving money, Xbox is the place to be.
Xbox.
Yeah. That's how we do. That's how we do.
That's what they tell me. Xbox is doing some things, they say.
Oh no, Kingdom Hearts 3 is gone.
Oh no.
Oh
Darn.
no. Darn.
It's all right, I bought it. We're good.
Wow.
I can keep
lucky
playing.
you.
I like Kingdom Hearts, sir.
Good for you.
I
Good for
don't.
you. Oh, that's fine.
Let's move
fine.
on. Before we get into my obsession with Kingdom Hearts, that I rarely talk about because of this exact conversation that I just stopped. We're going to move on to our topic.
You let me talk about Mass Effect all the time.
But
I mean,
people
if you
like
want
Mass
a little
Effect.
soapbox-
I mean, Mass Effect is good though.
People
Yeah,
like
that's
Mass Effect.
true.
People don't like people that like Kingdom Hearts.
People don't like Donald and Goofy being useless.
Hey,
If you could figure out a title system for your games and a numbering system,
It is.
I'm all for it.
Kingdom Hearts 2, and Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, really?
And the prequel, Birth by Sleep.
Oh, not Kingdom Hearts 3, Onyx Phoenix 2.8,
Hey.
a prelude to a dream sequence of Latter-day Saints.
Hey,
Like,
Kingdom
what the hell
Hearts.
kind of title is that?
Latter-day Saints.
Look,
I don't know why I went with that last part, but
Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue is a nice prequel to Kingdom Hearts 3. Okay.
sure, fine.
All right. Our topic of the show is Xbox Series S versus the PlayStation 4. Recent reports state that to meet demand of new consoles and slow their console shortage, PlayStation is going to continue to produce the PlayStation 4 into 2022, whereas the Xbox stopped producing the Xbox Ones in 2020. Does this mean Xbox made the right decision to make 2 consoles this generation instead of 1? I think the easy answer is yes.
Oh, okay.
I guess I have trouble figuring out why we need an Xbox Series S. Because when you look at the numbers and the performance numbers of the Xbox One X versus the Xbox Series S, there's not much of a performance jump. Not enough to justify gamers out there to spend another $300 just to get a minor upgrade.
I think it depends on which box you're upgrading from, plus what you're looking for in your games, though, right? Because I watched that Digital Foundry video, which I know we kind of talked about before the show. Like, I know we wanted to bring it up at some point, and this seems like the right place to bring it up. Like, the One X, the games look better on the One X, like, no question, right? But if you want the frame rate and the loading and just that kind of stuff, the Series S is the winner.
For sure.
But I think a lot of people who bought the One X are the hardcore Xbox fans and are the ones who are going to buy the Series X, right? I think the Series S is for the people who never upgraded from the original Xbox One. Maybe they play Madden and their kids play Fortnite and Minecraft on it, right? And Call of Duty, whatever. Like, I think that's what the Series S is for. It's for the people who, or, you know, for me, who has it hooked up in his office because I need an Xbox in every room. But,
that's why you host an Xbox podcast.
It's true. That's fair. But I think the S is replacing a different console than the Series X, right? I think the Series S is replacing the original in the One S, whereas the Series X is replacing the One X. I think the Series S is a nice holdover if you can't find a Series X. But also I think it depends on what you're looking for. I think if you want frame rate and loading times, I think the Series S is a very viable console if you only play 1 or 2 games a year, or you just want to play the exclusives and one of the other consoles is your primary console, right? I think it's a totally serviceable box for that.
I think the Series S has a lot of utility as a box for people who want to, just like you said, dip in for the exclusives, check out what's new on Game Pass, or who, they buy those 2 or 3 games a year, like the people who are guaranteed to buy every Madden or every NBA 2K game, who don't necessarily care about having like the best and biggest machine because that's all they boot it up for, and then they play free-to-play games otherwise. Like, it's a machine for kids also. Like, your kids there's a reason why Fortnite and Rocket League DLC and credit packs were bundled with it over the holidays. Like, it is because those are the kinds of people who are going to go and play on these consoles. Those are the kind of kids. Like, $300 for a box that can do 4K streaming, it's capable of doing the 120 frames. Like, that's a steal.
Yeah,
that's an absolute steal. I love having mine in the bedroom personally. We use it as a Netflix box a lot, sure, but my girlfriend plays Sea of Thieves on it with zero complaints. And we went from having the Halo 5 Xbox One and a One S to having the Series X and Series S, respectfully. And it's been totally night and day for us. But like, I enjoy having the X because I want my disc drive. I want to be able to play my 4K Blu-rays. I guess my struggle that I come with is, I think the Series S is great right now. I think in about a year and a half, you're going to start facing problems. And it was my initial concern. Go ahead.
Sorry, Josh, just to interject what you just said. Like, when we had a discussion, I think it was on the Boss Rush podcast at one point, like right when I started playing Guardians of the Galaxy in like November, I think, like at the beginning of November, before they patched it on the Series S, it was and I know that Microsoft games are always going to be optimized for both platforms, right? Like that's the goal, right? And indie games are going to run fine. But Guardians of the Galaxy did not have a performance or a quality mode for the Series S. And I was like, oh man, it was the first time I realized that like the Series S in about, I would say, like 2 or 3 years is not going to be a viable console for the future, right? It's a nice box to have now to jumpstart next gen, to boost their sales numbers or whatever. It's a nice streaming box. Like my nephews want an Xbox Series S because they're the Fortnite Minecraft kids, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what they want to play. Rocket League. But if
it's a great in between or second or even third option. And I struggle with this regularly. What I've preferred for them to have gone the PlayStation 5 route and just given us a digital Series X. And I think in the short term, they made, and obviously they weren't planning for this with a pandemic in mind. They were planning this before 2020 happened. We had leaks about this back in the summer of 2019, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
This was something that clearly was in the works for a long time. I think it works good as a stopgap. The pandemic, I think, is what kind of saves it from being a disaster. Otherwise, that you would see most people probably going to the X.
Once we start seeing performance boosts with a lot of their games, once they start embracing next gen, and the people are going to start to find the Series S just can't keep up.
I think the first real test for the Series S is going to be the next Forza Motorsport.
Yeah.
If that comes out this year, I'm not going to say Starfield because Bethesda games have never been like super taxing on consoles. And we just don't know how Creation Engine 2 is going to run on it yet. I would say that Forza, and if not Forza, then you're going to have a whole slew of exclusives next year because Microsoft is done with the cross-gen stuff. All major, they're going to have a couple smaller games. Like we know Josh Sawyer's game is probably coming out this year. The game from Interior Night as Dusk Falls, like the narrative game, those will still be cross-gen. But Starfield, Redfall, and Forza are next-gen only. And I think the Series, that's great. I think the Series S is a really good way to handle that. The only reason I think the Series S is still a good move for Microsoft is they've invested so much in the cloud architecture that they can run these games well. Like Flight Sim actually looks amazing on the Series S. I played it on there. It makes my console sound like a jet engine. So I'm really getting the full experience, but it works on there. And we're seeing even some of these older games be able to work through cloud on Game Pass on Xbox One even. So I think this kind of comes back to the whole philosophy of Phil, like when everybody can play, we all win. And I think that part of that isn't just, let's put our games on as many platforms as possible and in as many places as possible. Let's make it as affordable as possible, too, because you can sit here and say, you can do cloud gaming for $15 a month on Game Pass. The reality is, in most of the U.S., it's not going to be stable enough to sit there and play an ultra-long RPG like Starfield or something like the Mass Effect trilogy. Like, I wouldn't want to play that entire trilogy on my iPad or on my laptop. Just straight up. I wouldn't want to do that. But when I can pick it up and take it on the go to do a quest or two while I'm waiting in the airport or waiting in a doctor's office. Like, I was running strikes on my phone when I was on vacation when I was sitting in the airport. In Destiny, like that was great. And I think we're gonna, as we see the evolution of cloud gaming, and we specifically have to see America's cloud infrastructure and 5G networks and gigabit fiber like roll out to more than just the big cities. When you see that in the next 18 to 24 months, I think that's going to lower the demand for the Series S, and we're going to shift to much more of a cloud infrastructure. But I do think they have the leg up there because restarting the factories up for PS4s, they're only going to produce like 4 or 5 million. That's a rounding error for Sony. Like that's all it is. This is a console that's already sold like 115, 116 million units worldwide. What's another 4 million, spending up for another 4 million? The difference is their games this year are all planned to be cross-gen, all the way up to God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And
that's always been Sony's problem, is that they've been slow to like fully jump over to the next gen. Like, I mean, look at how long PlayStation 2 lasted when the PlayStation 3 was going.
I mean, God of War 2.
I think the PS2,
God of War 2 is like
was a. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say God of War 2 was like their big title in 2006, and that was the year after the console came out. Or 2007 or something.
And it's not as simple as saying like, they're porting these games over to PS4 and that's why they're taking so long to come out. Like, no, these games are developed with PS4 in mind. Like when God of War Ragnarok went into development years ago, when Horizon went into development, when Gran Turismo 7, they were all planned for PS4 and PS5. I hate to break that to you guys, but that's how game development works.
I mean, Horizon Forbidden West was planned to be a PS4 only game until they decided like, hey, they made that executive change and everything, and they're like, hey, we should probably start looking to see if we can implement some sort of PS5 features into this game, like, better frame rate. And I think a lot of that has to do with porting the old games to PC as well. Like,
yeah.
What I do find funny is that we had 3 PS5 exclusives last year. They're not going to any other platform. Now we're going to have 3 cross-gen games this year, which is just it. The messaging feels a little muddied to me because I have some friends who now are like, oh, I went through all this to get a PS5. And now these games are going to be playable on my old PS4. And I'm like, well, but that's the thing is you already got PS5. You're going to play the ideal version of these games. You're going to play
It's not much better, but it's still, PS4, the more ideal.
If you're going from a base PS4 to a PS5, that's a pretty big
huge jump. Yeah, that's huge.
Because that's what wins. I only ever had a base PS4. I never had a Pro. And going to the 5, I was like, oh my God. Like, even PS4 games on it, it was just... Ghost of Tsushima was night and day compared to what I had seen even on a PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
So I don't know necessarily that one of these... it feels like on paper, yes, the Series S is better than the PS4, but I don't know if I'm really ready to jump. Like, I think it really comes down to how is Microsoft's slate this year optimized versus how are the PS4 versions of those games optimized? Because I'll tell you right now, God of War... Horizon and Gran Turismo are going to make your PS4s sound like they're launching into space, and there will probably be some overheating problems.
I mean, to be fair, God of War and Horizon, the first games, made my PlayStation 4 sound like it. Like I was playing God of War, and like where I had it, I had to cut the back off of our entertainment center because it got so hot that my PlayStation 4 just shut down.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that problem with my friend. He had an old PS4 and playing Ghost of Tsushima. Like you want to like stand in the woods or stand in this like open plain and just hear the wind and stuff like that, but you can't hear the wind because you hear the sound of the damn PlayStation 4 fan going like crazy.
Yeah.
I think there's merits to both. But, I mean, like, gun to my head, I would say I think that the Series S was probably a pretty good, even if it's a short-sighted move. I mean, Sony's literally putting PS4s out because there's so much demand to play their games. And with Horizon, with Gran Turismo, with God of War coming out, like, they're not going to want to wait. And I empathize with those people. That's why I rushed out and got a PS5, was because I was thinking Horizon was going to come out last fall. And while I'm not the biggest fan, I wanted to get to it. I hadn't played Ghost of Tsushima. I hadn't played Miles Morales. Hell, I hadn't even finished the first Spider-Man game when I had sold my PS4 shortly after God of War. But getting to go back and play those and like getting to play Deathloop, like, cool, my PS5 has largely gathered dust for the last few months. But I'm looking forward to dusting it off and going out. Like, there are several third-party games that are PS5 only, and that's the point we're at in this cycle, COVID or not. 14 almost 15 months into this now, I'm sorry, like we have to start putting out those titles that are next gen only. Like, there are more than 10 million of each console in households right now. There's no reason why we can't start shifting to next gen only games.
And honestly, that's a staggering number.
Yeah, but it's a staggering number, and I mean, I guess I sound a little bit callous saying this as an Xbox fan, because selfishly I'm like, well, there's like 6 months for you to get as many Xboxes out as possible before Redfall is ready, and we even heard that may get delayed now. Xbox's big thing is like just really trying to get as many of those consoles in home, get cloud infrastructure running, because everything has to be ready for Starfield. And you've got about 9 months to get it ready for Starfield, assuming Starfield makes it out this year. There is still a very real chance that gets delayed. But with Stalker now getting bumped also...
Stop talking so negatively. It's coming.
I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to be realistic. Like,
I know, I'm just teasing.
We've impacted game development so much right now. Like, God of War is a long shot to make it out this year at this point, I think. The only things that we know for sure that are making it are Horizon and Gran Turismo, because those are less than 8 weeks away.
Yeah.
So, you look at it that way, and at least I would say with the Series S, you're still getting to play those next-gen experiences when they come. Or if there's a third-party game that is next-gen only, you're still getting to experience that. Over on the other side of things, if you get a PS4 just as a stopgap, cool, you'll be able to play Horizon, you'll be able to play Gran Turismo. you're still going to miss out on Ghostwire. You're still going to miss out on Forspoken. You're still not going to be able to play, Returnal, which came out last year. You can't play the new Ratchet and Clank. Like, you're still going to miss out. It's
Final
a
Fantasy
stopgap,
16.
but I don't think Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, whenever that
Well,
comes out.
how many people were upset when they found out like they weren't releasing Ratchet and Clank for the PlayStation 4?
That still blows my mind. That still blows my mind that of all the games, that's the one that didn't make it out for the. I thought for sure Gran Turismo 7 would be a PS5 exclusive, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping.
I'm shocked.
I was hoping it would be.
Yeah. I'm absolutely.
But
I want that game to take full advantage of the PlayStation 5 architecture, and it's not. But that's why I'm hopeful that Forza Motorsport
was. I'm like, okay.
I mean, I think you look at Forza Horizon though. I mean, that game looks really good on the Series X, and it's a cross-platform game,
Yeah.
And I think it would be easier to take. I think it would be easier to make something like Gran Turismo, like a closed circuit racer, right? Not an open world one, to make it look great on both consoles, right? Like, I mean, I feel like
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, I think, even just talking about this thing, I think a good 2-year life cycle for Xbox Series S will be good. I know Microsoft likes to come out with obviously a mid-gen console. I think
when the mid-gen refresh happens, it's gone.
And I think that's when they're going to phase out the Series S and maybe bring out a digital-only Series X type platform or type of hardware.
I think they'll bring it out, and by then the components will be cheaper, and that's when you get your $299.
And I think that's when we see them stop basically with the Series S, and then get that little jump and boost.
Well, that's when the Series X becomes the Series S, right? And then whatever's after that, the Series XL or whatever it's going to be called, right, is going to be the new Premier box, right? I
Series XL.
I don't know what it's going to be called.
I hope it's called the XL. That's pretty great.
Mm-hmm. Microsoft, come on.
It's the actual size of the mini fridge now.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I mean, it's still smaller than the PlayStation 5, but
I haven't even measured it yet. I wonder if it is. But yeah, they that would be interesting.
I am still like I've had the PlayStation 5 in a cart twice the last week and a half, and I just didn't pull the trigger. I'm not ready.
Well, and see, and that's the thing. Like, honestly, if you're still complaining that you can't find a next gen system now, a PlayStation 5 or a Series X, you're just not trying.
Yeah,
you can't walk into a Walmart and just find one in the display case. But so many people have so many different opportunities to find one. It's just a matter of getting into a new habit of checking online stores, finding out when they drop. Getting it in your cart. Like, so many people. I knew a guy that bought 4 of them over the Christmas holiday.
Mm-hmm.
For various members of his family.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's possible.
I mean, I found one for Stephanie in Block, right? So I mean, within the last couple of weeks, was it Block?
Yeah,
I forget who it was. It was Stephanie and someone else, but they're not.
Why can't Stephanie buy her own systems?
I mean, she bought it.
I just sent her.
I just sent her the
That's
link.
The funny thing.
I just sent her the link.
Okay.
Technically, I didn't send her the link. I sent the Discord a link, and she clicked on it. But
okay, all right.
Semantics. I don't know. I still want a digital PS5 though. I'm still waiting for that.
Oh God, I want to get rid of my digital PS5. I'm ready to go back to a disc.
If you find a disc one, Josh, and you buy it, please tell me, because I will take the digital one off your hands.
Done. I just realized I'm not willing to gamble $70 away on a game that I don't know if I'll like.
Yeah. And that's fair.
So,
well, it's gonna. Yeah. I mean, the PlayStation 5 is gonna.
That's the whole reason I haven't played Returnal yet. It's never dropped below $50 digitally, and I'm not paying $50 for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's worth $50, honestly.
I'm only playing the exclusives, right? I'm only playing Ghosts. I'm only playing Ghost and Horizon and God of War and Uncharted. Those are the games that I want to play on PlayStation. And maybe Ratchet. So.
Ken,
Josh,
I gotta give a shout out, Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, man.
Yeah,
that game is amazing.
I mean, yeah. Well, Kenna and Final Fantasy and Forspoken are also on the list. So I mean, there's games that I want to play on PlayStation, and it's just gonna be the exclusive box for me, just like the Switch is an exclusive box, right? I mean, it's.
So I think circling back to, is there a reason to have a Series S? And I think, I forget if it was Josh or Corey that said it right at the beginning. If you're coming from an original Xbox to a Series S, yes, that is going to be a significant jump for you in terms of performance and, specifications. But if you're coming from an Xbox One X, which historically that's been the kind of more hardcore gamer that does that kind of mid-generation upgrade to a Series S, it's almost like not worth it. You're not going to see that much of a difference. You'll see the frame rate boost. You'll see the load times, increase dramatically, which for some people that's enough. That really is enough. And admittedly, we even to this day, we haven't seen a big graphical jump from the last generation to this generation. And I don't think really we have a lot of places to go in terms of a graphical upgrade. I think I think
one big thing that we haven't talked about with the Series S, just real quickly, that I know makes a difference, at least in my circles, where a lot of us play a lot of Destiny and a lot of Halo and things like that, is that on Series S and Series X, as well as PS5, you have the field of view slider now on consoles. And you don't have that on even the One X anymore. You don't have that at all. And that is genuinely a huge game changer for first-person shooters. Like, you play a lot of Rainbow Six. Like, I know you know that.
Yeah.
I would say that, and I agree with everything you said. I think you are right on the nose that it's not, if you have a One X, it's not worth upgrading unless one of those things drastically matters to you. But I think by the time we get to E3, I don't know that that's going to be really a line of argument anymore, because everything will be next gen only. So if you want to experience Starfield, $300 is a pretty cheap entry point to be able to experience that. It may not be right now, it may not graphically be above the One X, but as the internal teams, because internal studios always get the most out of these machines, right? We've seen it with Sony's. Look at what Nintendo did with Breath of the Wild in a handheld mode.
Yeah.
Right? Your internal teams are always going to get the most out of your hardware. And I think as Bethesda has had almost 2 years at that point of being an internal studio, and they've had much longer than that developing on it, obviously, you're going to have to make a choice. How badly do I want to play this game? And I think there's no better selling point than the next RPG from Bethesda Softworks being an exclusive. It's either this or you go build a really good PC rig. And that's not going to happen for 95% of us.
Not a lot of people have a couple grand to throw.
No. So I think $300 at that point, then I think the $300 is worth it to upgrade from the One X.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you're looking long term like that, at least even just getting one as insurance, because we talked about when I sold my Series X, are we going to keep that or are we going to keep the S? And I ultimately sold the Series X to a good friend of mine who was looking for one. But I've even questioned it, man, should we have just kept that? How hard is it going to be for us to get one in the future? What are we going to do down the line? Eventually I do want to get her a Series X, but at what point is that going to be with the mid-gen refresh? She's perfectly happy right now, but I kind of want to move the Series S. I may buy a second Series S at this point. I really like how small it is. It's a great little streaming box. You want to do a little bit on Twitch? It's great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So.
Yeah. So.
I did not mean to derail what you were saying.
No, that all was spot on. I mean, honestly, I think it even serves itself as a good second system to have in the household. Kind of like what Corey has. You have your Series X on your main gaming setup, but maybe you have a living room TV where it's you want to pop on and play something real quick. I think my One X is in my living room, and I popped on to play Halo Reach for a little bit, and I popped off. Am I gonna go back to Halo Reach? Maybe, I don't know, but that's a good place for a Series S to have. It's something to maybe just kind of go back and forth with, or you want to play it with friends and you want to be in a more kind of living room centered environment, or put it in the pooper or something like that and play it while you're on the pooper. Those are fast loading times.
That's what cloud gaming's for, is for the pooper.
Those fast loading times, man, you get on the toilet and just jump right into Guardians within seconds, man.
Yeah.
I enjoy having mine on my OLED and having the Series S in the bedroom for sure. That sounds extremely elitist of me to say I got one of each.
Yeah.
Insanely lucky today they went out for pre-order.
Yeah. I feel bad saying I have both too, but also I don't, because I don't. Sorry, guys. Just don't feel bad. I think I'm gonna move my Series X to the office though, because like in like a couple weeks, because where we live just got sold to a new landlord, and like we were trying to wait to see if our rent would go up or not and everything under a new contract or anything, or if they're gonna kick us out. But ideally, I'm moving the office into the toy room and moving the kids' toy room into the office, because as you can see, the office is slowly turning into the toy room anyway. So, and this space is a way bigger space, and that space will allow me.
That makes more sense for them, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, like, not to like throw shade at my Series S or anything, but I do have a Series X. You know.
Yeah.
Shh, it'll hear you.
Ah. It's okay. It knows.
That's the redheaded stepchild of all the new Xbox systems.
It knows. Okay.
I hope so.
Anyways, it's a good topic. Great topic. But we're gonna.
Yeah, some good. I mean, it's good perspectives, because I mean, ultimately in the end, I feel like the Series S needs to be where it's at, but I don't see a long-term solution. That is a long-term solution.
I again think that if we hadn't had a global pandemic, it would look really bad, probably.
Yeah,
It would look really short-sighted if you were able to produce these. But like I've said on pods before, I used to work in an electronics distribution company, and we were behind on microchips and microprocessors and things like that back in 2019 when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the end of 2019. God, the last couple of years have just blended together so much. And in 2019, when I was there, we already had orders getting pushed into 2021. So it's not hugely surprising to me. We were already backed up before a pandemic, and it's just continued. Like, this is something we're probably not breaking out of in terms of, if everything straightened out tomorrow, we probably would still be in perpetual shortage until probably this fall. So, I mean, maybe this time next year we'll be out of it.
Yeah.
Who knows? But until then, the Series S is going to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Phil Spencer initially said that he thinks the Series S might outsell the Series X in the long run.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that's that's doomsday planning, I think.
Well, I mean, before these consoles came out,
I want to go for the bigger one.
I think. Well, here's the thing, though. We have to also remember that for a lot of people, the smaller price, the best price tag is what's going to win. That's what did the PS4 so much favor over the Xbox One initially. It wasn't giving you any extra shit. It was $100 cheaper, and it was not the subject of a viral video. And this time around, I mean, parents are going to look at this and be like, well, this one is $200 cheaper than what you want, little Timmy. You're getting the one that's $200 cheaper.
Yeah.
All you do is play Fortnite and Minecraft anyways, so here you go.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Game Pass Gary is going to go buy another one, too.
Oh, God. Game Pass Gary. No more Game Pass Gary.
What a fuck.
Oh, my gosh. We're getting out of here.
Can I meet Game Pass Gary? Is Game Pass Gary a real person?
No more Game Pass Gary. We're getting out of here. Okay. No.
And I want to know who Game Pass Gary is.
You'll find.
I made characters up a while back. Little Timmy and Game Pass Gary. And the Game Pass Gary was stealing consoles from Little Timmy at Christmas time and was scalping them. Mm-hmm. So he's become the object of our ire over the last couple of years.
Does this mean
I don't think I like Game Pass Gary.
Josh, if every time you sit in, we're gonna have to bring up these characters, aren't we?
Yes, every time, every single time.
I'm surprised it took you this long.
I am too. I didn't have an opening.
Oh yeah,
it's fair. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast. You can find it every Tuesday on your podcast service of choice. Remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, and review. Leave us a 5-star rating if you listen on iTunes and Spotify. Really helps us out. You can catch all of our content on bossrush.net. Josh, thanks for sitting in tonight. Really appreciate your time. Where can we find you?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
E3, I think, was the last time I sat in.
Yeah, I think so. Where can we find you?
You can find me every Friday morning on Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. And you can also find me on Twitter at Josh_Finn, 2 N's.
Stoy, I appreciate you as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate both of you as well.
Where can we find
thanks,
you?
man.
Yeah. You can find me on the EXP Cast, the video game podcast. We're part of the Boss Rush Network. Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at EXP Cast. And then also my personal Twitter, Stoy, MKE8. And I'm on Instagram at that same too.
Cool. You can find me at I am Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast every Monday morning on podcast services. You can also find me on Tower Casuals. You can find me in a plethora of content here on the Boss Rush Network. Look out this week on free feeds. You will be able to find After Dark premiering. You will be able to find Standard Definition re-emerging. And it's going to be a good time. Stoy, you're on that first episode of Standard
Sick.
Def. It's Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
You can see what I thought about it for the first time I've ever watched the movie.
Still mad. Still mad about that.
You know what? It's fine.
I'll be okay, though.
You'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Boss Rush Network. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
What's the matter? You hurt? Hey, bro.